Are we getting inward-facing cameras at Prime Inc. and when? The answer is... Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kearsey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. The hot topic for the past couple months has been whether or not Prime Inc. is going to install inward-facing cameras. There's been a lot of controversy about this, a lot of talk all over social media, rumors flying around. Some people swear they know the truth. Some people say, oh, this is what's coming. They're looking at different things on the truck, looking for, oh, is there already a camera in here? So if you watch to the end of the video, I'm going to tell you what Prime decided. And I'm going to let you know if and when we're going to have those cameras installed. Before that, I'm going to talk about why some trainers and students want those cameras installed. I'm going to talk about why I thought that Prime would decide against the inward cameras. I'm also going to talk about why some drivers don't even want outward-facing cameras. Then we're going to talk about the technology that's involved in what is being looked at. I got an onslaught of messages. The other day I tried to put a video up. For whatever reason, YouTube only put up like 2 minutes of it. I got a ton of messages from people that said, no, we don't want inward-facing cameras. It's a privacy issue. I live on the truck. I got people that wrote to me and said, this is a workplace and no matter where you go, you're being watched. Our society is filmed constantly. No matter where you go in any trucking terminal, any truck stop, you're being filmed, okay? We go into Love's or you go into Walmart, no matter where you go, a convenience store, you're being filmed almost 24/7, okay? So somebody said to me, well, I shouldn't be watched while I'm working all day. Well, that's called supervision. Most workplaces, you have a boss that's standing right over you and you have a camera that's watching you. My brother and I, my mom, my uncles, my whole family worked at the post office, which if you watch this channel, you know that. And we had people on the catwalks around the building, standing on top, watching us with binoculars, had directional microphones, listening to our conversations with cameras. And like when I told somebody, they were like, why? Well, because we carried all kinds of checks, so security checks, IRS checks, even after checks weren't common in the mail anymore because we had direct deposit, we were still getting things that were of high value. Artwork comes through the mail. Gold bullions come through the mail. I remember there was a shipment of Cougarans or something, and my brother was like, oh my God, they're $25,000 a piece, each one of those little coins. And so we were watched. And there are many, many, many jobs in this country that people are watched. We've been kind of spoiled in a way where we're really not monitored. And so when I said to somebody, what is it that you're really afraid of? Well, I change in the bunk. Okay, we have curtains right here. Okay. Now, one person said to me, we have this lane sensor thing in front of us. It's actually Detroit Assurance. I wound up going on the website to see if there's cameras in there. There's not. Those are an outward camera for the lane sensor control, and it also is integrated with our cruise control and our on-guard systems and Bendex that we're already accustomed to. People seem to forget that's all artificial intelligence. That's all technology. So all these different systems, our tire pressure monitoring system is technology. Our critical event system is technology. So think that people they react without knowing. A lot of people react emotionally without getting all the facts and without even Prime making a decision. They just went off the rails, and it's like, okay, if you don't like it, there's ways to go about it. You don't just spread rumors on Facebook and then bash Prime and everything. Write to the safety department and say, hey, I'm against this. Okay. one thing that I heard people say a lot is, they can't do that, I pay this truck payment. You pay the truck payment, but you don't own the truck. And even if you do own your truck outright, it's completely paid off, you're running under Prime's authority. Your contract still says that you will keep Prime's safety technology intact, and you are not permitted to remove it. If you change your speed limiter from 65 to 70, they will find out about it. They will tell you that they are not going to give you a load until you take it to a dealership and get it changed back. And they don't even have to give you that, because you already violated your lease contract by doing away with that safety feature. So they could take your truck back, take all the equity you put into the truck, and keep your lease completion bonus, even if it's 2 months before you're about to complete your lease. And you just lost your money because you broke the contract. So Prime's contract that 91% of Prime is on lease trucks right now. Either lease purchases, company drivers driving lease trucks. So 91% of Prime are lease trucks right now. That's 91% of the company signed a contract saying that they would abide by the safety features in the trucks and that they wouldn't tamper with them. So when I hear people say things like, well, I'm just going to put, a label over top of it, piece of tape over it, whatever. That's been done before with the lane alert systems, and people were fired. So why did trainers and students want this? Because both trainers and students are afraid of being on trucks with strangers. You never know how they're going to react. You never know if you're going to have a sexual harassment issue. You don't know if you're going to have a hygiene issue. You don't know if you're going to have a verbal abusive issue. A friend of mine who is a trainer, who has been driving like 10 years, was on the truck with a woman, no lie, who was screaming and yelling at him that while he and I were on, she was driving. Okay, she was driving, and I was on the phone talking to him while he was in the passenger seat. She was screaming about how she wanted to get more miles, and she didn't care about him making money, and she needed to run her miles out. And who did he think he was to reject a load? The load didn't make any sense for him to make money. Sorry, this is still a business. And this woman was like screaming and yelling, I hope your daughter gets all sorts of stuff that was just really bad that I can't even say on YouTube. And, had there been a camera in that truck, it would not have been he said, she said. Okay? I just happened to be on the phone. So I was sort of a witness. I heard what was said back and forth. So it's not just students that are apprehensive of getting on trucks. It's also trainers are a little apprehensive of getting on trucks. Men trainers are very afraid of being accused of doing something that they didn't do, or being misinterpreted or misunderstood. And it's very easy to offend somebody, especially when you come from different cultures, you come from different parts of the U.S. Sometimes we speak different languages, believe it or not, different, wording, our accents. You don't always hear what you think you hear when you're talking to people. So all of that plays into it. So there were some trainers and some students that actually wanted these cameras. Okay. So why I thought Prime would side against the cameras. Think about this a second. You really have to think about this. I think that drivers went about this in the wrong way, because what they were saying was, you are violating my privacy. What they should have been saying was, this can cost you money. YouTubers, brand new YouTubers, use the GoPro on their heads and they film themselves driving, which is against Prime policy. Why? Because they don't want lawyers to be able to prove in court. They do not want lawyers to be able to prove in court and subpoena those videos to prove that you were not looking in your mirrors properly. or that you were playing with your phone, or you were, munching, or even laughing with your co-driver and paying attention to have a conversation with your co-driver while you're driving, or your cat is jumping up on you, your dog is jumping up on you while you're people have kids on these trucks, which I'm totally against that too, because I think that is a distraction. I think that is a safety hazard, and I think it's a very high risk for the child's life, and people argue with me on that. I don't care. I've seen too many wrecks out here. So all of those reasons, in my mind, would be things that Prime did not want, any trucking company would not want to be something that could be confiscated or subpoenaed and used against us. Okay. Now, there are some drivers, for that same reason, that did not even want outward-facing cameras. Just didn't want them. So, depending on where the camera was, if it was something that was up on the dash here, we have these curtains that come all the way around so you could close them up. Okay, we have those curtains, like I said, that you could close them up. I think drivers went about it the wrong way because all they were doing was complaining about their own privacy. And I didn't like the fact that some women were trying to complain and hide behind their gender. I did get a couple comments of women saying, well, more and more customers are not allowing women to use the restrooms, and some places use porta potties, and I still menstruate, so I'm going to have to change my pad in the porta potty, and I'm not doing that, so the only place I can do it is on my truck. Wah, 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 wah. Okay, so I can confirm I have not met any customer that had a men's room and didn't have a ladies' room. Not one. In almost 8 years I've been out here. Okay, so that was just crap. Crap in the porta potty, right? Yes, there's porta potties, but are you saying that the porta potties are okay for the men, but they're not okay for the women? You think the men enjoy going in porta potties? Of course not. Okay, and finally, yes, okay, so what, big deal? You have to take care of your natural stuff, okay? Do it in your truck, hide, close the curtains. If it's, Swift used to have the dash, the inward cameras over on the dash. You could just throw your t-shirt on top. But not one person said, hey, our APU goes on when the truck is off. So does the camera go off when the truck is off? It's possible. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit of the technology here. Okay, in the trainer's class back in, I think it was 2016, 2017 when I first took the trainer's class, they taught us that we weren't supposed to teach the students to use the cruise control, because if they had their foot on the pedal while we were trying to build up their stamina, we could tell if they were getting tired. Okay, they would have their foot all the way down on the pedal and go full speed. When they start to get tired, their foot would start to come off the pedal a little bit, so they'd start to slow down. And then they'd kind of become more alert and realize what they were doing, so back on the pedal again. So you had this constant slow down, speed back up, slow down, speed back up. Okay, now that only works if you're using the pedal. Yes, it's true, but it's possible that they already know what our speeds are. They already know the percentage of times and what, how we have the cruise control, the percentage of time that we're idling, the percentage of time that we're in a certain gear doing a certain speed. They can see all that right now. How hard do you think it would be to put a sensor on the pedal to see when somebody's putting down and like speeding up and speeding down? They wouldn't even need to put it on the pedal. They could just go by the speeds and create a pattern that they're searching for of speed up, slow down. Something else that they taught us was when somebody starts to get tired, they start turning to the right a little bit. And then what happens? They start to become more aware, then they straighten back up. So you have kind of a drifting to the right and then a jerk to the left. And we were taught to look for this. So how hard would it be for the steering wheel to be able to tell us that? probably not that hard. Okay. I personally wouldn't have a problem with them installing a holder with a sensor to see if the phone is in place. If the phone is held in, in a holdout, in a phone mount, and there's a sensor on that phone mount to tell them whether or not I'm holding the phone, I have no problem with that. Seat belts, we already have a ding, 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 ding on the truck if we remove the seatbelt. It can't be that hard for it to go back and register to Prime. Okay, so I think people were not thinking outside the box enough to think about the possible different technologies that are available, different possibilities of what could be brought up. Okay. I think one thing that it comes down to is, just like when we went to e-logs, okay, what people were against the e-logs, what they were really against it for, was because they knew that they were doing shady things, they were doing illegal things, just to make more money, to have more time on that clock, and people were running personal conveyance. And I'm not just talking Prime, I'm talking the whole freaking industry. The owner-ops were all upset because I knew some of them that were running 2-3 logbooks and doing 4,000 or 5,000 miles a week as a solo driver. And, then the e-logs came into effect, and all of a sudden, oh, I can't make any money. So what you're saying is you've been breaking the law the whole time, and you can't make any money now that you're running legal. And it seems to me that a lot of people were upset because they're like, well, what if I have to answer the phone? What if I'm driving with one hand and I'm drinking a coffee? I'm afraid I'm going to get caught doing something. What if I am starting to doze off? Well, my response to that is, you're driving an 80,000 pound killing machine. There was a driver a few years ago that was taking his jacket off, and he got his arm stuck in the jacket, and he killed 4 people. And he got sentenced to like 30 years in prison or something for vehicular homicide. Those are situations that all trucking companies want to avoid, and I would hope that you and the other drivers would want to avoid that too. Also, I heard people say to me, it's not an insurance issue because Prime is self-insured. Prime is self-insured just like most of the mega carriers are self-insured up to a certain point. And then there are underwriters for the really big lawsuits. There was just a recent lawsuit, $100 million. The car came across the interstate into the wrong direction, hit one of the mega carriers in the wrong direction, and one of the jurors claimed that one of the reasons why they sided with the car driver rather than the actual mega carrier and driver, the truck driver, was because the trucker did not have a CB. And they claimed that the CB may have alerted him that there was an issue going on the other side of the highway where the person was out of control. Ridiculous. Okay? But lawsuits are always going to come down to why we have all of these, policies in effect and changes and things like that. Same thing with personal conveyance. Are we getting inward-facing cameras at Prime Inc. and when? The answer is no. We are not getting inward-facing cameras. So, everybody can calm down. Everybody can relax. Stop using Facebook to get your information. If you have an issue, rather than bashing Prime and bashing your company, bashing, your dispatcher and safety and all that, go talk to people. Actually send an email and say, hey, I'm not for this. But people will say, well, we don't understand. They're not telling us. Well, Prime never bothers. Prime never makes a decision and just goes for it. A month ago or so, me and a handful of drivers We're actually talking to a company that Prime's looking into to replace our Omnitrax Qualcomm system. And there were like 3 or 4 of us that offered to, test the system out. And it sounds wonderful. But okay, so one thing that I want to say about the lawsuit thing, who's going to man these systems and these cameras? Okay? It would look worse if Prime went into a court to defend itself and then said, yes, we had the technology, but we didn't have the staffing to man it. Our fleet managers are already, overwhelmed. I don't care what they say. Everybody wants to bash their fleet manager when they're doing poorly, and they want to praise them when, they're making money. And it really has more to do with the economy than anything else. But, we have to sit on the phone for a long time, 20, 30 minutes at the customer, trying to contact Prime to verify the bill information that we already punched in and let Prime know about. It's something called, if you don't drive for Prime Inc., then you know that it's called a live load call. If you drive for Prime Inc., you know it's called a live load call. But you're basically confirming information you already punched in. We're not staffed enough for that. Nights and weekends, we're not staffed enough for logs, safety, and claims. So if we've already don't have the staffing for some things that are really concerning and really pertinent, what would happen if there was an accident, the jury heard, oh, yeah, we had that technology, but, there was nobody manning it that night? That's worse than not having the technology, at least in my opinion. If I was in the jury, I'd be like, so that's just like a PR tool to be able to say, oh, we got it, but we don't use it. So comment down below and let me know, do you believe that we're not going to get the inward facing cameras? Because I tried to do this the other day. I still want to hear your thoughts on cameras at all. Forward facing, rear facing, which do you have a problem with either one? Do you use a camera? If you were training, would you want a camera on the truck to protect yourself? Comment down below and let me know. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, and I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.